Welcome everybody back to youtube.com/DyllonKG. This is a video for all you creatives out there who are making videos on YouTube or doing thumbnail work for other people. This is how I make my own YouTube thumbnails. I start in a program called Source Film Maker. You can find this on Steam, and then you can download character models from the Steam Workshop. You just have to, search the Steam Workshop for different Dead by Daylight characters, all the way up to Pyramid Head and Heather, aka Cheryl. But let's get into how this starts. So you'll go in here, you'll load a new map because there won't be a map loaded. These are all TF2 maps, I think. They come stock, no big deal, doesn't matter. So I just open whatever. This is the map I'm always in. Most of my models are here. And you can load in a green screen. So how you'll load in a character model from here will be to click on the left-hand pane and click New Model. The green screen in the background is technically a new model, as well as all of the characters. Again, you have to just search the Steam Workshop to find character models. Cozy Chicken, shout out to them. They did most of the models I have imported, so there's really no issues there. And once you get it imported, it's just a matter of movement. So once you get them in, you have the two buttons that one is rotation and one is transform directional. So you'll be able to directionally move the character model around, move their arm, up and down. The rotation tool is what you're going to use most. The rotation tool is kind of hinged on the joints. So each knuckle has its own rotational, tool. And you'll do that for the neck, the arm, the forearm, the clavicle. Everything is really going to work a lot in rotation to start with, once you get the character where you want them to actually be. So we're trying to do a thumbs up for our killer camping video that we did. It's going to be Bubba in a tent, and we found in the Steam Workshop we found a tent, so that's what this one kind of ends up being a little bit. And the reason you have the green screen is because we're going to use GIMP later, or Photoshop if you choose to key out the background. But yeah, so you're just going to work on this. In the left hand side, you can see in that pane how I'm kind of searching through the eyes, the head, things like that. A lot of killers don't actually have complicated mouth movements because they don't do a lot with their mouth in the game. You don't see a lot of expressions from them in the game. Survivors have very complicated cheek, nose, eye movements, eyebrows, things like that you can move. But here, it just doesn't really exist very much. So, but yeah, you can play with this stuff. It gets real weird. It gets really goofy. But it's just a matter of learning the different axes and learning how to rotate everything on different axes and things like that. Gets easier the more you use it. I really have only done this for like a month now, and it's gotten fairly easy. I use Google searches to kind of look at different references and things like that. Use my own anatomy of my hand and things like that. My toxicity video, I actually modeled that Heather after a meme photo. So just kind of look at that stuff, see what's popular, and don't make it too crowded. Don't use too many models is my perspective or opinion. Maybe 2 models at most, but too many people clutters the thumbnail that we're going to be working in later. So just kind of keep that stuff in mind. Alright, at this point we have modeled our Bubba for the most part. We actually imported a camping tent from Friday the 13th via the Steam Workshop tab. We were able to find one and we imported that in here. So, Bubba's out here camping. Makes sense. It's funny. Har har. Ha ha. So we modeled the tent zipper a little bit around his arms. It's not going to be perfect, but we just kind of did what we could. It's not going to be a huge focal point. So at this point, we're just working on the hand, getting everything anatomically looking appropriate. It's real easy for that stuff to look real uncanny valley. So just worked on that a little bit. Again, you're going to work in multiple axes, multiple rotation tool axes. Not a big deal, but it's going to take a little bit of time. And of course, you have to click and drag to move the camera, in case I didn't mention that. So at this point, you're ready to export. You'll export as a movie. This is to get the highest quality, of course. You'll want to save and things like that. You'll want to do an image sequence, and you want to do frames instead of seconds. And you'll do 1 frame. You name it appropriately. Not too big of a deal here. Nothing crazy. I find that I can't do higher than 720. I don't know if there's a reason for that, but now we have an image to put into GIMP or Photoshop. Now at this point, I like to take Dead by Daylight images, and I've made my own sort of galaxy purple background you see almost in all of my thumbnails. So I've taken an image given by Dead by Daylight's. This is like some of their concept art. I take it and I'll change the hue a little bit. I think it's really important that you create your own backdrop that is like immediately recognizable. The idea for me is they see this galaxy background and they go, hey, that's Dyllon's. So I'll take this. I turn this into, I'll layer the two, and I turn the galaxy into an addition on top of the Dead by Daylight backdrop back there, do some movement. That way it kind of blends together, and then that's what my videos have. And the idea is you want to create sort of an icon, something people can recognize really easily and go, that's his. So whatever that means to you, as long as it's uncluttered and fairly like simple. So import your image as a layer. Obviously drop that in if you want to. Scale it up to 1080. And then at this point, you'll take your selection tool and you'll select your green screen. And you're actually going to go in here and hit the grow button. That's going to grow your selection. You want to grow your selection by about 2 pixels so that when you delete them, there's no like green framing on the sides or green, you know, there's a little green here, but you notice on the tent there's no additional green lines or edges that you have to go in and blur or smooth or delete. So, and the reason for that is just so it's just easier, right? So it gives you this clean, fairly, I mean, sometimes in weird scenarios you get this stuff, you just kind of work with what you got. So, but we're going to zoom out. Now remember that little tiny section is selected, so you want to deselect that little tiny section there so you can select everything. So now I apply an artistic cartoon filter to this, and the reason for that is to give a little bit more definition to lines. That way, if you're zoomed out, the image is a little bit clearer. It's a little bit easier to see. The lines are just more defined on the character. You mess with your settings. You figure out what you like, what you think looks good. If you want, you can control and then use your mouse wheel, and that'll help you kind of to see the image scrolled out like a thumbnail would be on YouTube. So it kind of makes sense. Keep that in mind. Now we're going to select everywhere around the Bubba image, and we're going to invert that so that he is selected. We're going to grow the selection a little bit. We're going to add a new layer. All right. We're going to throw that layer under Bubba's layer, and then we're going to fill it with black. And you do that just to create, again, more definition from the background. So the tent and Bubba and all that stuff is now even further defined from that galaxy background we made. It stands out even more because it has a little bit of an outline around it. So hopefully that made sense. Again, I'm not an expert, so just kind of slow the stuff down. Ask me questions if you need to. We're going to add text. Use whatever font you want. Be very sparing with your text. You really want like 3 words. You don't want a whole sentence, and you don't want to put your title on your thumbnail. It defeats the purpose. So keep it simple, keep it eye-catching. I like to do, you know, something that's like a little clickbaity, you know. In my Heather video, I did "You're so toxic." In my Jay video, I did just like "Oops." So in this case, you know, Bubba's giving a thumbs up. We're going to do camping, no problem. And a lot of people are going to go, well, camping is a problem, so how is it no problem? And that's going to inspire them to kind of click the video. So whatever kind of video you're doing for Dead by Daylight, try to make it clickable. Try to pair the words together with the model that you've done, just to make something that's like gets people questioning, gets people asking questions. It makes them want to click the video, but don't oversaturate with words. You want it to be fairly crisp, fairly clean. And remember, the words have to be pretty large because you're thinking of a thumbnail, right? It's going to be pretty small if somebody's on mobile, so it has to be pretty big. And it's okay if your words overlap part of your image. That's okay, because people are usually going to see the words first, look at the image a second, then look at the title. That's my thought process anyway. So kind of figure out where you want to put things, where things look best. Remember that the bottom right-hand corner shows up with a time code on mobile, so don't put words in the bottom right-hand corner because people won't be able to see them. So we see here that like we have a decent size. This is okay. So we're going to select all around the words. Real quick, we're going to select the insides, the little empty bubbles. We're going to invert the selection, do a new layer like what we did with our cannibal earlier, throw the layer under the words, and use our paint bucket tool Let's grow the selection, use the paint bucket tool, and then fill it in. It creates just a little bit of a border around the words without having to do something like a stroke. This actually is going to be really, really helpful. Now this, you'll see sometimes it gives you this like kind of black outline. You can select the entire outline or just erase it all. This is sort of up to you how to handle this. Not a big deal though. So here I'll try to erase some of it, and then I'm like, you know what, selection tool, click, click, done, no problem. And then we're going to do the exact same steps on the camping one. We're going to do things a little different on the camping words though. You can select each letter individually if you choose, and that's going to make life equally as simple for you. I don't like clicking that much, so I always invert my selections and click the empty space. But you can do that, grow a little bit. If you grow the selection, again, it makes a little bit of an outline. We'll select our layer down below, and then again, we're just going to fill that in with the paint bucket, and boom. There you go. So you have a little border on your words. You scroll it out. Does it look pretty decent? Yeah. From a distance, people are going to be fine. On desktop, on mobile, it'll be great. So don't over clutter it. That's my advice. Just kind of, does it work? 3-4 words maybe, and source filmmaker to mess with models. So hopefully this video was good. I hope you guys enjoy. If you have questions, let me know. I'm not a pro at this, but I've been doing it a few months, and people seem to like my thumbnails. So, but let me know. I hope this helps you guys out, because I don't think a lot of people do this. I know a lot of people right now are using Google search images to try to make thumbnails, and it makes it really messy, really impossibly difficult to make good thumbnails off the same images over and over. So anyway, hope to see you guys in the next video. I pray to the entity to see you in the next video, and have a wonderful freaking day.